In the Mouth of Madness, John Carpenter's nightmarish vision centers on insurance investigator John Trent, who's tasked with finding missing horror author Sutter Kane. What begins as a straightforward case spirals into a labyrinth where fiction bleeds into reality. Kane's novels literally reshape the world, transforming readers into deranged servants of ancient cosmic powers. The genius of this universe lies in its meta-commentary on horror itself. The stories we consume might be gateways for something incomprehensible to enter our world. The blurred boundary between imagination and reality forms this universe's foundation. As Trent discovers, Kane doesn't merely write horror, he channels primordial entities existing beyond human perception. His books function as rituals, summoning these beings into our dimension. What distinguishes this universe is how it weaponizes art. Language becomes viral, reading becomes possession, and consuming entertainment transforms into religious devotion. The film's cyclical narrative structure mirrors cosmic horror's view of time. Not linear, but recursive and predetermined. Perhaps most disturbing is the implication that we, the viewers, are complicit in this cosmic invasion, simply by engaging with the story. The final shot of Trent laughing maniacally in a theater, watching himself in the very film we're viewing, suggests we've already been infected by whatever lies beyond the page. Outer Wilds. Beneath its charming veneer, Outer Wilds conceals a profoundly unsettling cosmic horror universe. You pilot a spacecraft in a miniature solar system locked in a 22-minute time loop, inevitably ending with the sun's supernova. This universe introduces cosmic horror through archaeological discovery rather than confrontation. You piece together the fate of the Nomi, an ancient alien species who pursued a signal from something called the Eye of the Universe, a celestial body older than the universe itself. The Nomi's desperate attempts to reach the Eye led to their extinction, leaving only ruins across planets that crumble, flood, or implode while you explore them. The universe reveals itself as fundamentally ephemeral, where entire civilizations rise, fall, and are forgotten. Time itself becomes a horror element. The relentless countdown to supernova creates constant dread, while quantum mechanics force you to confront reality's fundamentally unstable nature. On Quantum Moon, objects exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed, challenging basic assumptions about existence. What elevates this universe is its bittersweet perspective on cosmic insignificance. Unlike many cosmic horror narratives, Outer Wilds suggests meaning can exist even in a universe indifferent to our presence. The final moments offer a gentle reframing of cosmic horror, where awareness of our temporary existence becomes not just terrifying, but somehow beautiful. The Endless Resolution. This interconnected universe, crafted by directors Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, centers on an invisible cosmic entity that traps people in time loops for its entertainment. The films follow two brothers returning to a UFO death cult they escaped years earlier, only to discover something genuinely supernatural lurks there. What separates this cosmos from conventional horror is its predator-prey relationship. The unseen force doesn't want to destroy humanity. It wants to farm us for emotional responses. It creates pocket dimensions where people repeat the same traumatic scenarios indefinitely, watching their suffering like we'd watch a favorite movie on repeat. The entity, never fully shown, communicates through photographs, videotapes, and other media, leaving artifacts that breach the walls between time loops. These media fragments serve as both warning and manipulation, guiding victims toward more dramatically satisfying actions. Distance and isolation define this universe's mechanics. The further characters stray from civilization, the more reality unravels. Camp Arcadia, the cult's compound, exists in a temporal bubble where members never age, trapped in cycles of communal harmony that mask their imprisonment. Most disturbing is the implication that our entertainment consumption mirrors the entity's behavior. As we rewatch favorite films or replay emotional scenes, we participate in the same cycle of manufactured emotional response. The creature isn't alien to us because, in essence, we already understand its fundamental desire for narrative satisfaction, no matter the cost. Control. The Federal Bureau of Control operates in the shadowy margins of reality, investigating paranatural phenomena from a brutalist headquarters that defies architectural logic. This universe posits that consensus reality is fragile, a thin membrane easily punctured by objects of power and altered items that warp the fundamental laws of existence. The oldest house, the FBC's shifting headquarters, represents a nexus where cosmic forces manifest physically. Corridors extend infinitely, rooms rearrange themselves, and certain spaces can only be accessed through ritualistic behaviors. Reality here is malleable, responsive to collective belief and corrupted by intrusions from elsewhere. At this universe's center lies the astral plane, a dimension of abstract geometry and psychic resonance where pyramidal entities known as the board communicate through contradictory bureaucratic jargon. They represent one faction in a cosmic conflict involving the former and the hiss, the latter being a resonant chant that possesses humans and transforms them into distorted aggressors, suspended in air. What distinguishes Control's horror is its clinical approach to incomprehensible phenomena. Items as mundane as a rubber duck or refrigerator become vessels for forces beyond understanding, cataloged with redacted documentation and contained through pseudoscientific rituals. The mundane becomes terrifying, while the impossible gets processed through mind-numbing bureaucracy. The universe suggests a profound truth beneath its supernatural elements, that reality itself is arbitrary, maintained through collective agreement rather than objective truth. When that consensus falters, worlds collapse, identities dissolve, and the barriers between dimensions become permeable enough for something vast and hungry to slide through. The Color Out of Space. Richard Stanley's adaptation of Lovecraft's classic tale creates a universe where cosmic contamination transforms a rural landscape into an alien nightmare. When a meteorite crashes onto the Gardner family farm, it unleashes a color beyond the visible spectrum that infects everything it touches. This universe's horror stems from gradual, inexorable corruption. The color seeps into the soil, water, and eventually living tissue, warping biology and physics simultaneously. Time distorts around the farm as the color's influence spreads. Clocks run at different speeds, electronic devices malfunction, and reality itself becomes unreliable. The entity manifests not as a monster but as a property of light and matter previously unknown to science. It represents cosmic forces utterly indifferent to human existence, operating on principles incompatible with terrestrial biology. The color doesn't hate humanity, it simply uses organic matter as raw material for purposes we cannot fathom. What separates this universe from other cosmic horror settings is its focus on environmental contamination. The horror spreads outward in concentric circles, transforming plants and animals into luminescent, hybridized abominations. Human victims merge with their surroundings, their bodies becoming conduits for something beyond comprehension. The Gardner family's disintegration, both psychological and eventually physical, serves as microcosm for humanity's fragility when confronted with cosmic forces. Nathan Gardner's descent into madness culminates in his transformation into something neither human nor alien but a grotesque intermediate stage. The film suggests that when the universe touches us, we don't just die, we become unrecognizable even to ourselves. The Void. This Canadian nightmare vision creates a universe where cultists in white robes and triangular hoods usher in a dimension of biological horror. When a group of survivors barricade themselves in an abandoned hospital, they discover it serves as a gateway to a realm where flesh is infinitely malleable and death merely a transition. The Void's universe operates on principles of transformation rather than destruction. Human bodies become clay for reshaping, sprouting tentacles, extra eyes, and impossible geometries, while consciousness remains horrifyingly intact. The cult views this metamorphosis as transcendence, a grotesque evolution towards something beyond humanity. At this cosmos' center waits a godlike entity spanning dimensions, birthing monstrosities and absorbing consciousness into its mass of writhing tissue. The cult's leader sacrificed his daughter to this being, receiving prophetic visions and the power to bridge dimensions in return. His followers seek similar communion through ritualistic murder and self-mutilation. What distinguishes this universe is its visceral, biological approach to cosmic horror. While many similar settings emphasize psychological terror, The Void creates a tactile nightmare where bodies split open, organs rearrange, and bone forms new architectures. Reality becomes as mutable as flesh, with hospital corridors stretching into impossible geometries, leading to chambers of living tissue. The film suggests death might be merciful compared to the alternative, absorption into a collective consciousness spanning multiple realities, experiencing perpetual transformation without release. The final revelation of a vast, pyramid-shaped entity composed of countless merged bodies hints at an ancient cosmic hierarchy waiting beyond the veil of conventional reality. From This universe traps travelers in a nameless town surrounded by an impassable forest, harboring nocturnal creatures that wear human faces. By day, the community functions as a nightmarish parody of small-town America. By night, residents barricade themselves against entities that cannot enter without invitation. What elevates this setting beyond conventional horror is its manipulation of fundamental constants. Time operates differently. Children born in town age rapidly, while others remain unchanged for decades. The surrounding forest reconfigures itself, making escape impossible as paths loop back to town regardless of direction traveled. The creatures themselves represent cosmic horror through their unknowability. They perfectly mimic loved ones, using emotional manipulation to gain entry before revealing their true nature. Their origins remain deliberately obscure. They might be interdimensional predators, manifestations of collective guilt, or something entirely beyond categorization. The town exists as a pocket dimension or a fold in reality where normal rules dissolve. Mysterious forces deliver supplies in the forest, radio signals from different eras bleed through, and buried totems suggest ancient awareness of the phenomenon. Characters discover elaborate mechanical structures beneath the town, hinting at purposeful design behind their imprisonment. Most disturbing is the implication that the town selects specific people across time and space, drawing them in through supernatural roadblocks, forcing travelers along specific routes. This suggests an intelligence to the nightmare, not random bad luck but deliberate collection of human specimens for purposes unknown, studied through their reactions to inescapable horror. The OA. Beneath its science fiction veneer, the OA constructs a cosmic horror universe where consciousness transcends dimensional boundaries through ritualistic movement. Prairie Johnson returns after a 7-year disappearance, now calling herself the original angel and recruiting 5 strangers to help open a portal to another dimension. This universe posits that reality comprises overlapping dimensions, accessible through near-death experiences and choreographed movements called the movements. These precise gestures, taught by entities described as angels but functioning more like interdimensional beings, allow consciousness to travel between realities, even inhabiting different bodies across the multiverse. What transforms this into cosmic horror is the implication that human consciousness is merely temporary housing for ancient entities. Hap, the series' antagonist, collects people who've had near-death experiences, experimenting on them to map the multiverse through induced clinical death. His subjects become vessels for forces beyond human comprehension. The series introduces cosmic horror through clinical detachment rather than overt monstrosity. In sterile underground facilities, Hap drowns his subjects repeatedly, recording the sounds produced during their temporary deaths. Sounds that, when properly arranged, create a map to other dimensions. Human suffering becomes data collection for accessing realms humanity wasn't meant to reach. Most unsettling is the suggestion that our universe is merely one iteration among infinite variations, with consciousness flowing between them through carefully orchestrated death. Characters discover they've lived countless versions of their lives across dimensions, raising questions about identity, free will, and whether we're truly individual beings or fragments of something incomprehensibly larger.
Subscribe for more interesting stuff. Tell us your experience in the comments.